Sheila, I wanted to tell you that this year my trout lilies are yellow.
Yeah.
This is the first year in 3 years that they've been yellow.
What were they before?
Usually.
Kind of whitish, pinkish yellow, pinkish white.
Wow.
They're fairly new in the ground. This may be only their second or third year.
Maybe there's some mineral Johnny would know
Could be.
that
Oh,
has to
Maybe-
have in order to have the yellow.
maybe you have the native ones invading. I have put in one and now I have hundreds of them, but they never flower. They just have a leaf.
Oh, no, these
I saw
have
those.
flowers.
Okay, I guess so.
Oops.
It's a
Just so
lovely
you know, You're
flower.
recording and live
It is.
streaming.
So Carol, do you think we're ready?
You are ready. Everything's up and running.
Okay, all right. I'd like to bring the meeting to order. Can we take a roll call? Carol, do you mind doing that?
No problem. Let's see, I'm gonna read from the list that's actually in my pamphlet, and you can say whether you're here or not. Paul Golembeski,
Here.
Heather Steers,
Here.
Sue Terrio,
Here.
Curtis Kahane is absent, Lieutenant Farrier is absent, Chief Rains,
Here.
Chief Petron, I believe is absent, Mike Steers,
Here.
Sheila McIntosh,
Here.
Brett McKenzie. See him, but he's not. Maybe he didn't hear me. Brett McKenzie, you have to unmute. Well, maybe he's not able to unmute. I'm going to note for the record that he is signed into the meeting.
Okay, good, thank you.
Lucky.
Here.
Jason Burchett, is he in attendance? No, I do not see him. And John Gwynn.
I'm here, thank you.
Okay, that's it.
That's 7, that's a quorum, perfect.
And I'm here, Rob Mara.
Oh, Rob Mara.
Oh, Rob, I'm sorry, I didn't read your name. My apologies.
No problem.
Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
Can we, Sue, did we approve the minutes? Should we be approving the minutes of the last time?
You just got those minutes this morning, so we should approve them. That was for Tuesday, April 20th.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a correction, I think. Under
Good.
number 3, next instead of nest.
Oh,
sharp eyes. It's a test. Sue's keeping us on our toes. Perfect. So we have, we had an approval. We had one proposal to move the minutes.
I'll second that. I'm assuming Rob's motion includes the amendment that we just made.
Yes, I think so. All ayes have it. Are there any nays? All approved. Thank you very much. Okay, the first item, I don't see, is Donnie on? I know he's having trouble getting
Yes.
here.
Yes, he's there.
Okay, good.
Can you
Um,
hear me, John?
Yep, I can. Thank you for joining us for a field trip at which several people attended and looked at what you were talking about. Donnie, what was your, we started out at the East Bridge and you sort of iterated what you thought we were thinking about and we scratched our heads and so on. What was your takeaway of what you think the mission should be for the design of the East Bridge?
So I think both bridges should have the same design for a lot of different reasons. Important ones being aesthetics, uniformity, and costs. If we do two identical bridges, the cost should be a lot less. So the aesthetics. So what I heard from the committee from earlier meetings and then from the site walk is that we like the design of the existing east bridge, meaning we like the 2x6, if you will, timbers that run crossways. We like the little roughly 10-inch, 10 by 12-inch wooden car bumper that sits on top of the timbers. And we liked from looking at the end, like as though you were looking downstream or upstream at the bridge, we like the idea of seeing the ends of the 2x6 timbers that form the bridge deck.
Yes.
So,
we did. Yep.
so the thought is we want to use a precast concrete structure, but we want to disguise it. So we want to disguise the bridge deck with timbers, so a facade of timbers, so that we don't see the concrete, and we didn't want to put gravel over it. So we thought that the timber facade would be better, like what we have. Sorry, I'm just trying to shut my volume on my phone off here. Okay. And then again, we reiterated and expanded a little more on the idea of we don't want to see the concrete sides or wing walls of the culvert. So we want to face it with natural stone. And we're thinking that we should have enough natural stone in place, which currently forms the existing abutments, which are, of course, eroding and falling down. But we think we have plenty of stone there if we carefully take it out when we prep the area for the new bridge. We also thought, continuing with the aesthetics and the design, so looking downstream or upstream as though you were standing in the brook, you'd see the ends of the 2x6 timbers, which form the bridge deck. Above it, you'd see roughly the 10 by 12 wooden car bumper curb, and then you'd have a handrail above that. Below the 2x6 timbers, we'll see a horizontal timber, if you will, which will hide the concrete edge or face that you'd be looking at. And that would extend down to just about the ceiling or soffit of the culvert. So we wouldn't see any concrete from the top down. And then on the sides, again, we would face that off with stone. So on the footings, when we get into the fine points of the design, we're going to see if we can design shelves in the footings that we can start the stone facade on, so the stones have a good bearing spot. Excuse me. We also thought that we would wrap that stone facade underneath the bridge from the upstream side and downstream side for maybe 5 feet, 6 feet, whatever, just so that when you're down near the stream and you're looking at the bridge from a low angle, you won't see the stone facade and then see the concrete. Your eyes should see stone extending underneath the bridge, and we do that on the upstream side and on the downstream side. So that's roughly what we talked about for aesthetics. Do you want to stop there and just go over any questions or comments?
I think that we also there was also a possibility of making the bridge slightly wider. Could you explain, so more water can get underneath the bridge, as it were?
Yep. Before we do that, though, are we good for now on the aesthetic design of the bridge? It's going to be a 2x6 timber deck. You're going to have the wooden curb. It's going to be like the existing East Bridge now, right?
Yes.
In terms of the deck and above. Is everybody fairly okay with that, or?
Yes.
Paul, Carol, there were some of you weren't there. We didn't have a quorum, of course, but what does this sound good to you?
Yeah, I've been thumbing through the pictures while we're talking on my phone, and yeah, it basically is going to look like what's always been there, and
Exactly.
but definitely in a more permanent situation. And those timber covers will be able to be replaced over the years without any structural change to the bridge itself, correct, Don?
Yeah, I think what we'll have to do is we'll talk to the precaster and we'll have to design in some low concrete rails, if you will, on top of the concrete deck, so that we can put probably anchor bolts in that to fasten the bridge deck down to the wood down to the concrete. Also, it'll keep the wood off the top of the concrete deck. So there'll be a little bit of air underneath to help prolong the life of the wood. But we'll at least have two roughly where the tire tracks would be for a vehicle, give the best bearing. And we probably have at least one more on either end. So we'll work that into the design, but the idea is if we do it right, nobody's going to see it.
And you're
But
gonna,
the timbers won't be sitting right on the concrete. In other words, that's what I'm trying to.
and on either side, the road bed itself will be graded right up to the wood?
That's correct. Pretty similar to what's there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Don, good. Don, you'd also had mentioned in an earlier meeting the possibility of stream bypasses, but I think when we were all out there, we kind of thought that what was there now is already functioning that way, but maybe I got it wrong.
No, you did. I think it was a good exercise that we went through. We questioned the need for it. We questioned the feasibility of it. We looked at and recognized that Mother Nature is already doing her own bypasses, and so if nothing more, we're now aware of what Mother Nature's doing. We think she's doing a good job. So for now, what my sense of the meeting was, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything to change what Mother Nature's doing now, but we are going to be mindful of it and watch it so that if we see at some point one of those low areas starts to erode, we'll address it. But at this time, we all seem to think that's not necessary because Mother Nature provides a little bit of relief above both bridges as it stands now. So we're thinking that's going to be enough. Also, considering that we will be increasing the hydraulic waterway or the hydraulic cross section. So that means more flow will be able to get under the bridge because we'll keep the same height above the stream invert, but we'll make it a little wider, which touches on your earlier question tonight, John.
Yeah.
The next phase for the next phase for design is to do the hydrology to determine the watershed characteristics and the flow rate, and then we can start to model the existing culvert and then decide how much more we can expand it. We definitely want to make it bigger, but we can't just arbitrarily say, let's make it 1.5 times bigger, which certainly would be fine for us, but it wouldn't be fine for people downstream. So the analysis will tell us, will guide us in terms of what seems like a reasonable increase in the cross-sectional flow area. And then that'll tell us how wide the bridge will be between the abutments.
Just for clarification, that I thought we were thinking of the width would be about the same, but the length would be greater and go to a 12-foot bridge in length, so that the area under the bridge would be wider, but the bridge itself would be the same width, just longer than it is presently.
So the word we want to use is span, right? Like we're looking to increase the span of the bridge.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Sue. That's much better.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're hoping to increase the span of the bridge, which would allow us more waterway cross-sectional area, flow area, which should help, not back up the water as much as currently is. So we'll have to finesse that and decide what seems like a reasonable increase. Because if you go too much, we're going to have to start doing a lot of modeling work downstream to demonstrate that we're not causing additional flooding downstream. So yes, we'll increase the span based on the analysis. We're going to keep the width. So we're roughly going to have a 12-foot span between a 12-foot width between the two wheel bumpers on either side. It wouldn't be more than 12. Is that clear?
Don, is that the current width of the bridge?
Yeah, it's about what it is right now. We can go out and measure it again, but it's right in that ballpark.
Okay. if, while Jason and Chief Rains are on the phone, is that width, the current width, okay for you as far as getting your trucks over?
Yep, as long as a standard vehicle can get across, I can get across.
Yeah, we
I just need
wouldn't
the-
take anything really heavy across. We would probably use the gator if we had to get a person in and out of there.
And so, so we'll check with Chief Petron to make sure he can get a fire truck over, but I have a feeling that with our earlier discussion, Jason, it sounded like your arborist equipment is wider and bigger than.
Well, I mean, Mike, I definitely have a concern with weight, John.
Yep.
You know, if we're going to be getting in there to get big wood out and things like that, you know, you're talking, you know, equipment that's, you know, over 20,000 pounds. So, you know, certainly that would be a factor as far as maintenance in the back there. But as far as width, we can get, as long as it's a straight shot in, which we have off that corner, we should be all set.
Okay.
John, I talked to Chief Petron about this and he said he's fine with the width. He's never going to bring a fire truck in there. He might bring the forestry vehicles,
Yeah.
but the fire trucks aren't going to go across. Maybe the EMS, but never a fire truck.
Okay, that's good. And Don, that you're okay with that load bearing capacity that Jason was talking about?
Yeah, so we're gonna make sure it's designed for an H20 load rating, and we'll look into that. I don't see an issue, though.
Okay.
I don't think that's excessive weight, Jason, do you?
No, I don't think so. And I mean, that's not really, I mean, I got stuff a lot heavier than that too, but I'm not going to bring that in there, you know? So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, somewhere around there should be fine for me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, for
We'll,
anybody who needs to get in there or even bring in, a big backhoe, or if an excavator for whatever reason has to do something from the other side, you know, certainly I guess it'd be nice to have an option.
Yeah, a load of fill, a dump truck loaded with fill or something, you know.
Right, which is why we're all here, right?
So, all right, so I will, as we get into the design, we'll report back on what we have for load rating capacity.
Okay.
So then if we, one thing I'm thinking we can, we talked about, the West Bridge, the site, everything's accessible and we don't see any issues with staging and the crane and having room to work. At the East Bridge, we think there are 2 trees that need to come down. One is on the west bank, which is both are on the downstream side of the bridge. One's on the west bank, one's on the east bank. On the west bank, it's a double 12-inch white oak tree that Jason kind of thought had a weak crotch anyways. It's too close. The tree's going to die. And if we don't remove it, we're going to be compromising our construction to make allowances for it and then, you know, cut it down at the end of the day anyways. So we thought that one's got to go. And directly opposite on the west bank, on the downstream side, there's an 18-inch white oak that we think we need to take that one down. We're not sure if we think we're gonna leave the stump because we think we can work around the stump. Taking out the stump would obviously destabilize the soil around it. So we're gonna look at that as we start excavating for the footings.
Okay. Carol Lynn, is this anything like what you might expect? Is this what you're expecting?
And no surprises. I hope that we use something other than creosote timbers for our decking, but otherwise this all sounds like what was anticipated.
End up with a diaper on the bridge like they did in Sapawa years ago.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's pretty funny. Well, is there any other any other discussion about this? I think we're all seem to be talking about the same thing. I think it's pretty strong. I haven't, Tony's not here to do the official designation, but as far as I'm concerned, this would be completion of the concept design phase. And Donnie, would you agree with that? I don't know. Is there anything else you think you should add for concept design?
I think we're good for the bridges. I'd just like to talk briefly about the area of the bank erosion just downstream of the
Oh,
waterfall.
okay, good. Yes, please. Yes, good.
So we looked at that on the sidewalk as well. Because water tends to run to the outside of a turn of a stream, the outsides of all the turns are the areas where the banks get undercut. And that's what's happening down there, just below the waterfall. So in that area, existing rocks have fallen into the stream. What we're going to need to do is we're going to want to line that stream bank with stone again, use what's there, and we'll need additional stone. And we're not going to want to do it vertical. We're going to want to do it probably something like a 2-to-1, 2-to-1 slope, maybe. The idea is by sloping the stone bank, as you go down, sloping it towards the center of the stream, that helps kind of keep the water towards the center of the stream instead of, encouraging it to go and undermine the outside of the bank. So that's what we talked about there. We're going to keep the existing concrete pipe that takes the brook, the little stream from stormwater from up at Swamp, that comes under Swamp Road. We're going to work around that, make sure we, backfill over it properly. And when we repair that section of roadway, and we would extend the stones down to the point where the stream turns to the left, probably takes almost a 90-degree left-hand turn. There's one tree down there that's pretty well undermined that will have to be removed. And we'll just extend the stone to just kind of sweep around the turn just enough to help the water make the turn and then let it continue on its way.
Donnie, while you were talking, I was thinking that doing a lot of stonework is going to be look sort of like the jetty at Secana Point at first. I wonder if there's any way to pack it with soil or wood chips or so on in the crevices and so on, so that plants grow quickly, etc. Not below water level probably, but anyway, we can talk about that at the next phase. But
another thing, if I can jump in too, if we can find a line on some aged stone as opposed to getting some bright orange stuff, I think it's going to make people a lot happier right off the bat if it goes in gray.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think we're all thinking about the same thing, trying to make it look like it always has been there.
Right.
So it's going to be a challenge.
I'll start poking around.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you very much. Well, I guess is appropriate for us to approve this phase and take a vote. Is what would we be approving? I guess approving Don's proposal for concept design for the east and west bridges and concept the new stone wall along the roadway to keep the roadway intact. So how would I say that in a fewer words? We would approve his proposal for the two bridges to be identical, to look as similar as possible to the existing bridges, and to have a stone embankment along the road.
Can I say something?
Yes. How would you make that a shorter
I think
proposal?
we need to, John, I think we need to see a written, a more specific proposal than just
Okay.
have the discussion.
Okay.
To really, to pass on, to vote on this. No?
Okay.
Does anybody agree?
What additional degree of specificity do we need at this time, Heather?
I think basically what you said, but once it's in writing, and you vote on something, then you know what you voted on. It isn't just the fact that we've discussed it.
that makes sense. So why don't we, Sue, why don't we try to encapsulate this into the minutes? Why don't we pass it by Don to make sure it's exactly what he's proposing, and then we can approve it at the next meeting.
Thank you.
So
think
can I
that's-
interject? That
Yep.
sounds good to just help facilitate that since this is going to be going to the next meeting for vote. Why don't I just draw up some sketches?
That
Some
would be
different
great.
views, of the bridge, that way, it won't be anything engineered, but it'll be some rough renderings so that at least we all have a visual of what we're talking
Mhm.
about.
That would be
Great.
great.
That would be terrific. I think that would be perfect. Well, that's very good. So we will defer that to the next meeting. Sue, is there anything else on the agenda for discussion today? 'Cause I know this was a big moment to try to pull this together.
This was the only item.
Okay. Well, is there another time when we can set up a meeting then? How about,
What are we thinking about time frame in terms of, we
getting
kind of
everything
always
out to
avoid-
bid? And yeah,
We will always kind of avoid the funding question, but I don't know what comes first, time frame or funding, but
So Rob, when we get my next task will be, like I said, to do the hydraulic analysis and then finish the survey, put the plans together in the permit application. So then it goes to DEM for review.
Right.
They either approve it as submitted, they send it back with changes, we make the changes, they advertise if they need to, whatever. Once they issue the permit, it's good for 3 years. So I
okay,
think once we've got a package that the initial package we send to DEM, that should be maybe the time to start thinking about fundraising and whatnot. And because up till that point, you don't have anything to show anybody.
right. And I think the visit to Long Pasture was good because when someone asked, when was it done? You said that the stream bed was dry. So
Yeah.
we're probably not talking about a 2021 venture here. We're talking about 2022 because I don't think we can get everything put in order and have the funding in place by the fall of 2021.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct. Hopefully by the fall, we have the permit,
Right.
and then you've got time to fundraise. So in 2 falls, hopefully we'll be doing the work.
Yeah.
So I have a question about 2 bridges. The proposal, another good reason to have a written proposal is so that we can submit that to the fundraisers if people want to see what we're doing. Do we really want to have this proposal be for 2 bridges? Or just 1? I thought we were doing just 1.
no, Heather, we voted on both.
Okay,
We
Okay,
voted on
sorry.
both and trying to, no.
Okay.
We may be putting that, if they come in $1 million, we may be back to talking about that again, but as Don
Oh,
said,
You could sell the naming rights for the bridge.
oh, God.
we may need to have 4 bridges then. Well, all right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it was a good question. No, we sort of decided to do the 2 bridges and the one and the side of the embankment and not to look at the stepping stones because we thought that might be too problematic at this stage. All right. Is there any other discussion about the strategy and we're going to be needing to talk about money sooner or later, but when do you think, Don, you can get the sketches ready and Sue, when do you think we can do have the notes that we took today passed around for the next meeting to vote on? Is 2 weeks too soon, too far? How
Sounds
about
good
the
for me.
How about the
I'm fine
18th
with
of-
that.
18th of May, going back to a Tuesday?
No, that's financial town meeting.
Right.
Oh,
I will definitively not be available.
I have a feeling I think we're all going to be busy with that. How about the 25th then? May 25th? 4
That's
o'clock?
For me.
Okay. Okay,
Is Dawn okay with that?
May 25th at 4 o'clock.
Right,
That sounds fine.
okay.
okay. All right, good. All right, can we have a vote to adjourn? We have some homework.
So moved.
Any seconds?
Second,
All approve?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Well, this was an easy meeting. Thank you very much.